Michel Pereira versus Andre Fialho. We got minus 280 on Pereira and plus 240 the return on Fialho. Interesting matchup here, right? Pereira was actually scheduled to fight Muslim Salikov on the January 15th event. Unfortunately, Salikov was forced to pull out. In steps Fialho on short notice, and that was supposed to take place last week. Unfortunately, one of the cornermen, I believe, for Fialho tested positive for COVID, and they were forced to push the fight back to this card at UFC 270. But glad that we're still getting the fight. Should still be an exciting fight, right? Both guys bring the heat. They bring knockout power as well. The interesting thing about Andre Fialho here is just his style, right? The guy has a ton of knockout power. Just watch his last fight against Stefan Sekulic, former UFC fighter, who he just absolutely grouted with a beautiful elbow in the clinch and just absolutely decimated his face there. Beautiful win from there. A lot of people would also know him for being the guy that knocked out James Vick late last year as well. Late in 2020, I believe it was. Finished him in the second round, but he didn't look the greatest in the starting there, right? And that's where I'm starting to see some of the issues that guys can present to him, as if they're the ones kind of dictating the pace, because he kind of allows it, right? A lot of his success comes from being in the boxing range. He needs to be close to his opponents, and that's where he starts to let his combinations go, and that's where his power starts to come from. But you watch the Chris Curtis fight from back in his PFL days. Chris Curtis is the one getting off pretty much first at all times, and that's why he's as successful as he was in that fight. Santos Jr. fight, I'm sorry, the first name of that guy is escaping me right now, but I believe that fight took place in the LFA, and Santos was just pushing it on him the entire time. He was the one going first, he was the one initiating the clinching and the grappling exchanges, and Fialho was just falling behind. He had a great, second round, at least in terms of rocking Santos there. But after that, he just could not get anything going on. And Santos Jr. was able to grind out that third round and get the decision victory that time around. But if you see his winning streak right now, it's all finishes, right? He's not a great minute winner. He's not a great guy to go out there and try to win a fight by decision, right? Michel Pereira is a bad matchup for him, in my opinion, right? Pereira is going to be on the outside. He's not going to be sticking around at boxing range. That's exactly where Fialho needs to have the fight to find success. Fialho is going to have to come forward and crash the pocket and really blitz forward to try to catch Pereira and then let his strikes go. But I think before he's even able to, Pereira is going to get out of the way and he should be able to, just do what he does, right? Earlier in his UFC career, he was very chaotic, right? The Tristan Connolly fight was a big wake-up call for him that he just can't keep doing that stuff and be successful at the highest level. Now he still has a bit of that chaos, but it's now controlled, right? You see him even mixing in takedowns as well, which is high fight IQ type of things in terms of securing a round and making it look very good for the judges. And I'm loving the development that we're seeing in his game as well. This is a perfect stylistic matchup for him. I completely agree with the line here. I think he's a parlayable piece in this spot. Fialho's no pushover. Don't get me wrong. He's not a Justin James type of guy that they're inserting here. Fialho is a legitimate fighter, and I think he will have a couple wins inside the UFC, but Pereira is just not the type of style that will bode well for him. Pereira will move around on the outside, not to mention we're going to have the bigger cage here, so that will definitely benefit him in terms of staying away from the big power of Fialho, and then from there he should be able to touch him up, and I think he could possibly even knock him out in this spot, right? Fialho, I don't think he's been knocked, well, he definitely has not been knocked out in any of his UFC or professional MMA fights, but he's there to be hit, he's there to be dinged, and that's exactly what I'm expecting Pereira to be successful with here. So I'm going Pereira. I'll actually take him to win this fight inside the distance. I'm going to say knockout. Let's call it second round.